out of the Tugger era into the Smith era? Is the chosen one enough? Do you believe in A.N. Childs? Do you believe in a whole new roster? Welcome to the Michigan State schedule breakdown.
Is Kenneth Walker back?
Sadly, no, but there is a man named Gwyneth Cocker, so I don't know. He's got a
Gwyneth
weird
Cocker.
mustache.
They found that boy on Alibaba good enough.
So I'll let Zach break down the numbers, but first I just want to hit on just a couple transfers and some commitments, just real quick. This is a pretty new team. You got a lot of returning, talent at Michigan, not so much at Michigan State. First big one is going to be the quarterback transfer, A.N. Childs. This is going to be a much better team because you're going to have one quarterback playing the entire time and not three. He didn't play a whole lot at Oregon State. However, highly touted recruit. We're going to see what he can do. Is he the chosen one? I hope so.
We hope.
The only other transfer I want to touch on, because there's so many. We stole Samaj Bridgman from Michigan.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. And then we also got Andrew Dennis back. He was originally a Mel Tucker recruit, and then when Mel Tucker got fired, he committed to Illinois, and then now he's back. He transferred over.
Welcome back.
And then really the big commitment I want to hit on is Nick Marsh at River Rogue, Michigan. I think that dude's gonna be a baller. 4-star, 95 overall rating on 24/7 Sports. Just look out for those names. Mainly A.N. Childs and.
Oh, he's a 95 overall.
Yes, Sam. Zach, let's get to those.
He's gonna be bad. Yeah. So let's get into the total returning production for Michigan State is 61%, which is which is good enough for tied 68th in the country. Mind you, Michigan was tied 128th. However, returning production does also account for transfers and what they did at the schools that they were previously at. ESPN has a whole article kind of breaking down how the returning production works. However, offensively, they're returning 48%. Defensively, they're returning 74%, which is really good, especially once you hear some of these numbers from last season. Last year, Michigan State had before I say it, there was 133 teams in college football last season. Now let's get to it. Scoring offense, Michigan State was 131st.
Yeah, baby. 3QB system. I loved it.
In total
down the bottom, they got rocks in their pocket.
In total offensive yards per game, Michigan State was 128th. This is why I wanted you guys to keep a note of how many players are returning on defense, because their defensive numbers are a lot better. And total defense and scoring defense last year, they were 86th. And that is with the Michigan game kind of factored into it, and also playing Ohio State and Penn State. So 3 high-scoring teams. It's gonna happen when you play teams with that level of discrepancy. And then total defensive yards allowed per game they were 78th. They were 4-8 last season, 2-7 in Big Ten play. Their current over/under win total is set at 4.5 going into the season. Now we can go back over to you, Colby, and you kind of lead us through the schedule.
Yep. So you gotta kind of have to trust my judgment a little bit here, because you have to take last season with a grain of salt. Not a grain, maybe a block of salt with everything that was surrounding the team last year. You have your head coach who kind of knew he was getting fired even before the season started, even though no one knew. And he was fired under some very, very
questionable. Yeah. What he did.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that. So you're rocking with an interim head coach for the whole entire season. A lot of you guys are kind of dejected. Guys are entering the transfer portal, not showing up for the team. You're losing your recruiting class. All that fun stuff.
It's a tough look.
It's a very demoralizing season, so I think you got to take it with a grain of salt, especially the 49-0 stomping. That's not going to happen again anytime soon.
No, it'll be 32-0.
So starting off with Florida Atlantic at home, I think this is a win. First win in the Jonathan Smith era.
Let's go.
Yep, I agree.
Dub.
I mean,
That's a dub.
although I just want to put the hypothetical out there. It's because of how you're coming off last season. What if he starts off with a loss?
If he starts off with a loss, it's not too much of like a code red or like an emergency. Like if he starts off, it's look what happened to the team last year, man. I would be all right with a loss coming from there. But
Yeah,
I do think it's a win.
And to be fair to last season, there was a few games. It was the Rutgers Iowa game. They had it. It was in their palm, like in their grasp, and then they kind of got out of reach there at the end. So they easily could have been 6-6 last year at bare minimum. Just to be fair to Michigan State.
And I think Jonathan Smith brings over a much better coaching staff than what Harlan Barnett was left with. I think the run game is going to be one of the best in the Big Ten, at least, if not the nation, for sure the Big Ten. Their run game coordinator / tight ends coach, who we stole, also a phenomenal recruiter. I'm excited to see how that goes. Moving on, week 2. I guess this is technically week 1. Yeah, at Maryland, the first Big Ten game.
This is week 2.
Oh, lame. Anyways, at Maryland. It's a toss-up. I can see it going either way. They don't have Tully anymore.
I agree. I think based on some of those defensive numbers we saw, based on how they did last year, with an interim coach, what they're bringing in, and the returning production, and knowing what Maryland's bringing in offensively from last season, it is a toss-up. I'm going to give Michigan State the dub. Close dub.
It's probably what I would lean. It's just, it's tough. It's tough. You got to see how this team plays against Florida Atlantic first to kind of get an idea.
Yeah.
Then week 3, FCS. Purdue A&M.
Dub.
And yeah,
That's a quick and easy dub.
That's a dub.
Bang bang, show me W's.
So, if you're starting off 3-0, you roll up into Boston at Boston College week 4. I think that is also a dub. Rolling with some momentum, you're kind of getting your feet under you. The players are learning the new schemes, learning the new offense, defense, all that.
I was torn because the Maryland one's close. This one's also a toss-up for me, and because of the 2 toss-ups, I'm gonna have one of them be a loss, and I'm gonna have the loss be out of conference Boston College.
It's okay,
week 4.
Because we're not gonna touch on these 2 games a whole lot.
Then the next 2 games
at home, that's a loss.
Yep.
We all know why. That's not gonna be a win. Following that up at Oregon
on Friday night, 9 p.m. kickoff.
That's a loss.
9 p.m. kickoff. Yeah,
Friday is brutal.
Yeah, that jet lag is gonna hurt.
Yeah.
That jet lag is going to hurt. So
plus even if they are close into it in the fourth quarter, those boys will be playing what is at this
like
over midnight. On midnight for them.
Yeah.
So if they're in a close game in the fourth quarter, exhaustion might just jet lag, exhaustion.
It's just gonna hit.
It's gonna hit.
It's gonna hit hard.
I think we're gonna have a good first quarter, and that's it.
Like I said, you have to see how the team's gonna play because it's such a new offense and such a new coaching staff. It's hard to tell. But then we get a nice little bye week after getting our ass handed to us, 2 weeks in a row. Then
happens for the best of us.
Homecoming against Iowa. This is gonna be an ugly game. This is gonna be like our Michigan prediction. I think it's just gonna be straight Big Ten football. I would lean Michigan State taking the win here. We should have beat them last year if it wasn't for coaching mistakes, and I don't think we'll have those same coaching mistakes.
I unfortunately am on the opposite end of the spectrum. I think Iowa's defense is going to be too overpowering, and assuming he stays healthy, I think Cade McNamara does get a dub in Spartan Stadium this time around, unlike 2021. So I have Michigan State starting 3-0, and if you've watched the Michigan schedule prediction, you know my thoughts, and then dropping 5 straight. So go. Yep. That's where I'll leave. That's
shit.
that's where I'll leave it for now. Anyone else have thoughts on Iowa?
What the hell is a Hawkeye? I'm kidding. No, obviously it's tough. You want to see a bounce back against, I'd say either Iowa or Michigan. You got to think that both Ohio State and Oregon are just dump truck dumpster fire losses.
Oh yeah. Oh
Like,
yeah.
how do you get around that?
I have zero faith. I will be betting against Michigan State.
I'm gonna.
I honestly have Michigan State winning against Iowa. I want to see it happen, so I'm putting my money there.
I want to
Put
see
my money where
see
my
it
mouth
happen.
is. I want to see success.
I think, like Colby said, it's gonna be an ugly game. I think they might lose it just at the end, and then come in pissed off against Michigan.
Oh,
win.
my man is building an arc.
I'm building an arc.
See, yeah. So I gave my thoughts already on the Michigan schedule prediction on this game. Like I said, it's gonna be an ugly game. If you want more of my thoughts, go watch that one.
watch
I think
that
I think Michigan gets the dub. I'll leave it at that. So at this point in time, I have Michigan State 3-5.
If it is an Iowa win, I think it's a Michigan loss. If it's an Iowa loss, I think it's a Michigan win. That's kind of how I stand on those two.
I said it in the Michigan video. I said in that video I thought that Michigan was going to win. This is the Michigan State video. I think Michigan State's going to win.
Head ass.
Can't play two sides of the same coin like that.
Don't fucking care.
Homie's not playing the sides of the coin. He's playing the coin.
Moving out of our brutal stretch. Indiana. That's a win.
It is a rivalry. But I think the Michigan game and playing close to a top 25 team, I think that will kind of give some light under the fire to Michigan State. I think it'll kind of make them realize, like, oh, hey, shit, like we can actually do this, and they take a dub and go into the bye week and try to make a bowl game push.
I can see that. Especially if they beat Michigan, they're just gonna come in with that fire under their ass and give it to the Hoosiers.
Fuck the Hoosiers.
Fuck 'em. What is a Hoosier anyway?
Hoosier.
But yeah, moving into our second bye week, we'll probably lose that one.
That's a loss.
That's a loss.
Moving into
That's a tie,
Illinois, I think it's a win. Like I said in the Michigan video, it really all kind of hinges on Brett Bielema having a good defense. If he has a good defense, I don't think we win this. If it's a mediocre defense, I think we win this.
Yeah, based on how I feel about Illinois, I think we'll honestly see a lot of those low-scoring Big Ten games from Michigan State this season. I think they get another. I think it's another. They play another ugly game. It's one that they finally walk away with, and win. Considering I have them probably walking away with ugly losses against Michigan and Iowa.
Hey, they don't ask how. They ask how many. It can be an ugly loss, but you at least tried.
What the fuck is an Illini? They kick in the ass.
Is an Illini?
And then we move on to the penultimate game of the season. Purdue at home at 8 p.m. I had a loss.
It's the third Friday night game for you guys, by the way. You guys have 3 this year.
What the fuck is a Boilermaker?
It's not the Boilermakers. It's the Spoilermakers.
They're not the spoiler makers when they got nothing to spoil. I have Michigan State walking away with the dub.
I just don't trust us against Purdue.
Clenching.
Since we were number 3 in the nation.
I have them
Purdue with anything, so I'm giving Michigan State the dub there too.
If we lose against Purdue, we're all doing Boilermakers.
I have Michigan State starting 3-0, dropping 5 straight, winning 3 straight, to clinch bowl season or to clinch bowl season before the final game of the season.
Then Rutgers, it's not gonna happen again. We win, we get an 8-4 record, and Jonathan Smith establishes himself as a force in the Big Ten in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I talk shit about the mascots.
And we
Scarlet
go
Knights goes
bowling.
fucking hard.
We don't
Actually
go to the
goes hard.
playoffs or the Big Ten championship,
I
but we go bowling.
Can we be in the mayonnaise bowl?
No.
I think there's a stigma around the Rutgers name. I think Greg Schiano has done a phenomenal job up there in East Piscataway, New Jersey. I think Rutgers takes a dub, leaving Michigan State at 6-6 on the season. 2 games, technically a game and a half over their win total, projected win total right now.
What
I
did
got us
Colby
4
say?
games over, 8-4.
I'm taking 7-5.
I'm taking 8-4. Optimism.
And that's the
Optimism.
thing is
Remember
it
that.
really can range from. I think it can range
yeah.
from absolute floor of being 4-8 to absolute ceiling of being 8-4. It is that wide of a margin because you don't know. Jonathan Smith at Oregon State, towards the end of being at Oregon State, was phenomenal. Those were great Oregon State teams. They just couldn't get the same talent that you can get in the Big Ten at a Big Ten school, a more historic school with Midwest big boys. So it's yet to be seen. I do think the coaching is going to be 10 times better. I think the offense will be a lot better. Defense, maybe stay about the same. But I do have faith, and I think that he will establish himself as a great hire by the Michigan State Spartans.
I think the more consistency in coaching and kind of a proven coach will kind of help balance them out and probably win some of those games that they ended up losing last year. I think we start to see the building blocks for what he's truly building. I don't think he heavily exceeds expectations. I think at most you might see 7-5 in my opinion. I think it's a smaller range instead of like 4-8 to 8-4. I think it's more 5-7 to 7-5 kind of range. I think we start to see the pieces that he's building and give it a year or two, and not saying they're going to be national powerhouse, but I think in a few seasons we could see Michigan State pushing for some fights in the Big Ten championship and appearances in there, and potentially getting some sneaky playoff berths here and there. But not this season. We see the building blocks start to form.
And I'm only saying 8-4 because of going from the super inconsistent quarterback play of Kane Hauser, Noah Kim, and oh my god, the fucking kid from Washington.
It's your
Back
irrelevant
out
looking ass.
west. Oh, I can't remember his name, but just from having 3 different quarterbacks coming in and all playing, I think if A-Child stays healthy and he plays well, I think that this team will be able to reach that 8-4 ceiling. I think that is the absolute ceiling. I don't think there's no way we go 9-3, 10-2, anything like that. But I think
Hey, you
I
sound
truly
like a
believe.
hater, bro.
Well, when you had a team that was the worst offensively in the nation combined, pretty much, you got a lot to improve.
Tell me you don't believe in the Cinderella story.
So I'm just gonna say my prediction. I'm gonna stick with the 8-4. I see them send this high mark next season. You
Oh.
take a dip, 6-6, maybe 5-7, and then the question is gonna be showing up like, hold up, was this just a fluke season? And then after that, the next season, they go back to like 8-4, 7-5, or whatever, something like that, and then continue that and get better and win a national championship at some point.
Like how it's at some point. Oh no.
At some
baby
point.
time.
It's a 5-year plan, okay?
It's the
Could be one.
5-year rebuild, baby.
It's the Jim and Dwight thing. Could be 1 month. Could be 2 months. Could be 3 months. What about 4? a realistic possibility. What about 5?
I could see that happen.
Just replace months with years, and that's what Sam basically just did.
Yeah. It will happen at some point. Don't know when.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's really about it. It's a big question mark. We don't really know. We will find out. We won't know until week 1 when we kick off against Florida
And
Lake.
we'll
Kick 'em
be
off.
there live.
Maybe. Potentially.
Did you just say we'll be there live? Homie, you better be buying my ticket and taking my days off.
But I think that'll do it for us here at Mittcast. As always, go green, baby.
Go blue.
God, you guys suck at this.